Hello, very good morning. You're watching Sky News Breakfast. Our headlines here today. A woman who had a sexual relationship with Russell Brand has told Sky News he made her feel intimidated and vulnerable a week after allegations of sexual assault and rape emerged. The comedian says all of his relationships have been consensual. Ukraine has attacked a Russian Navy base in Crimea as part of its counter-offensive. Ukraine's military says it used a cruise missile supplied by the UK and France. Nearly a third of people admitted to hospital with COVID had abnormalities in multiple organs 5 months on, according to a new study. MPs have called on the government to extend the warm home discount to support households struggling to pay their energy bills before winter. And Rishi Sunak's popularity is at its lowest point since he became Prime Minister. A YouGov poll shows 68% of people now have an unfavourable view of the Prime Minister. Time now to take another look at the papers. Joining me this morning to review them are the author and journalists Janelle Aldred and Nikki Hodgson. So welcome back to both of you. So we're deep inside the papers now this hour. We've dealt with a number of the front pages, which are all very different actually. But Janelle, you've picked up on a story in the Times about the Met Police.
So Sadiq Khan is saying that if the Met Police can't overhaul what he has called a toxic culture, then they still could be broken up. I think the Met Police's issues are probably quite well known, and with trying to root out some of the quote-unquote bad apples, they're losing potentially up to 60 officers a week because they're getting from the past decade sexual assault, domestic violence cases, and actually there's some 1,600 officers who are currently being investigated, so that means losing some of those police officers. But I think in terms of culture and what bad apples do is they tend to spoil the whole barrel. So I think Sadiq Khan is saying if they can't overhaul this culture, the racist police officers, the WhatsApps, we've kind of seen them all, then they still could be broken up. I think, you know, for me, I'm not a police officer, but breaking it up seems like it could be a good thing to do because it's obviously quite big, unwieldy, and it's hard to change culture with something of that size.
Do you think that's right as a fresh start? Do you think what's needed for that?
Yeah, I do think so, because, you know, Dame Cressida Dick, who was, you know, previously head of the Met, didn't do the job that she was meant to do. You know, there were so many reports and problems throughout her stewardship. Yet again, we've got the same problem. I just think it's been going on for too long. We can't live in a, you know, under a kind of police where after 20 years there are still these kind of fundamental issues with trust, and I think the public deserves better.
Well, yeah, so Mark Rowley is promising reform, isn't he? But how soon that can happen, we'll have to see. Let's move on to the Eye. This is the Eye, isn't it? Yes. This is Nikki, a story about XL bully dogs, which we've heard a lot about in recent weeks. So what are they saying?
Yeah. So this is a story about how XL bully dogs, yes, they may be banned or about to be banned, but people are breeding the puppies right now because they're trying to recoup the cost of the dogs that they already put out, and they're advertising these puppies on social media. Obviously, as we know, there are so many ads that kind of go under the radar. You know, the capture, the sort of AI capture that's meant to detect pictures of them or keywords in adverts isn't very effective right now. And there's just this very sad story about how there's going to be kind of actually, I don't know, more of these puppies around before the ban comes into force. People then will probably get cold feet about buying them. What will happen to all these new dogs? So it's very sad, actually.
And clearly, announcing a ban is intended to try and make people safer, but there are so many complications involved, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's interesting, at the bottom of the story, it talks about pit bulls, which were banned 30 years ago, and there's still thousands of those on the streets too. So announcing a ban, like you say, today doesn't stop people who are already breeding those dogs right now from selling them. And I don't think it will mean that they become extinct. I think they will still be there, but then go under the radar, which is always more dangerous.
I guess it does at least highlight some of the issues around the dogs. The conversation about it at least sends out a few warnings about what people might be taking on. We are out of time, sadly. It's been so lovely having your company this morning, both of you. Thanks so much for going through the papers with us. And sad that one was so short. It goes too quickly. Nice to see you both.